I just read something that's and before it's news, not too long before I came into the class, that speaks of how Iran is in league with Venezuela, according to prophecy that's right in, where it says in Isaiah 13 that the Medes are going to be behind the total downfall of Babylon. But they are in league with Venezuela. Venezuela have an agreement that Iran will be able to set up a base there for missiles, actually. So that's Bible prophecy. And that's big in prophecy, to let you know that Iran is gearing up. And again, we told people, that's the sleeping giant. Iran will be the game changer. All right, Iran will be the he will be the game changer. All right. Now, going into the lesson, because y'all missed this lesson and I thought we should share in it a little bit. What is the importance of this world's connection with idols? Now, when I talk about idols, you notice in the Catholic Church they have all these different symbols. They have a statue of Mary, or what they call Mary, which we know is nothing different than Diana, and the worship of Venus, and the child, which is a representation of Jupiter, or the Yule child of Tammuz of ancient Babylon. But with every worship and prayer comes some physical substance, like an idol. You notice even in your Catholic Church they have what you would call rosary beads, something like that, right? They call it rosary beads. Mm-hmm. In it, you know, it's a compilations of different stones, usually linked into a cross. Why do people reverence substance and have a worship linked to physical things like wood and stone and metal? We found out, according to the scriptures and according to this world, why. I'm going to give y'all some understanding. I don't want to let the full cat out of the bag, because a lot of the information we'll be teaching in the academy. So I don't want to bring it all out, because we want to make sure we ration it out and give you the information as we can receive it. But in a nutshell, it's pretty deep, the reason they have these idols attached to every religion. In Islam, you have the rock, or the Kaaba. In the Middle East, you have all types of different idols. In ancient Babylon, you had idols. The Roman Catholic Church is filled with idols. You go into your church and there's symbolism and idols every place. And there was an origin of idols. So let's go to the book of Enoch. We're going into the book of Enoch. And then I'll take you into the Bible and the Apocrypha to show you why the nations deal with idols. What's significant, and why people cannot physically let their superstition and their idols go. And don't forget, Abraham himself, his father Terah was an idolater. Alright? So I'm going to show you, according to scripture, why people hold dear to substance. See, it tells us in the commandments, Exodus 20, that thou shalt not have no other God before the Most High. And he explicitly told his people not to make unto them anything that's in the heaven above or the earth beneath. There was a reason for that. What was the spiritual implication of that? Why did the Most High want Israel to stay away from those practices? We'll show you. Why is it that when it comes to substance, be it your ring or your earrings or your jewelry, why do you call it precious? Why do you hold dear to these things as if they have life and value material more than life itself? What is your spiritual connection to these things? I'm going to say this. Who is over? Who is over your jewelry? What people is actually bringing jewelry to you? Why do they promote jewelry? Why this time of year, especially during the time of Christmas? Everything you see is about adoring jewelry. Jewelry itself, Jewry. Links directly to the Jewish wizards. Back in old time, there was people who knew how to trap spirits in material. They would trap a genie, or what you would call in the Middle East a jinn. But they needed physical substance to do it. So you need something. You need earthy clay. You need something that's made of the Most High substance to hold these spirits with different incantations. This practice has been known through the Illuminati powers. That's why they do with their symbolisms and they build their statues. This practice goes back to ancient Babylon, how to control spirits. And these Jewish powers are not just cutting diamonds. What they're doing, they're praying spirits in a lot of these materials and selling them to you. And you're making unto yourselves idols. But they promote it innocently. It's an innocent promotion, but really you're being controlled by a spirit. There's nothing more precious than the Most High's creation, than what He created, man. So, when the Most High said, "Do not make unto thee any graven image," He understood that these spirits would be prayed into these idols, and that people will reverence and hold dear other gods and substance opposed to Him as the God of all gods. All right? Now, I'm going into the origin of spirits. When did this thing come on the scene of demons in the earth? When did this happen? It happened before the flood. Go to Genesis, the 6th chapter. Genesis 6, and get the book of Jude 1 and 6 and 1 and 13. Genesis 6, the book of Jude 1, 6 and 1 and 13, and get 2 Peter 2 and 4. You have it? Mm-hmm. 2 Peter 2 and 4. You got that? Mm-hmm. Okay. And also get Job, the 1st chapter, the 6th verse. We wrestle not with flesh and blood. These Jewish powers are sorcerers. This is what you didn't know. The Jewish powers are over the Illuminati. Their secret credo, like I've mentioned the other day in class, their secret credo is to continue their father's Esau's oath he made in Genesis. Once his father died, he would destroy his brother Jacob. That's the secret oath. And that's what they're teaching with the genocide program. The only difference is it's a war being waged against Israel, and Israel don't know who they are. Therefore, they don't know that they're being warred against. So we need to get the origin of this. These people that are over the world, over the bank system, over your thought, over your education, over your religion, that own your banks, these people are sorcerers. You notice their movies, they push sorcery big time. Gandalf, Lords of the Rings, Harry Potter, these wizards. They have many wizards. I know a lot of you think that this war against Iraq and Iran, some of you think that these wars are just physical wars with armies, but no. You must first take the spirit and control the spirit of a territory, and they know this, before you can take the land. Before they went into Iraq, America sent an army into the palace of Saddam Hussein and found genie bottles. As far as the eye can see in his palace, in one room was nothing but genie bottles or jinn bottles. Bottles that held spirits that gave Saddam Hussein power. They had to take his spirits to control the region. We're not wrestling with flesh and blood. Before the Jewish powers took Israel, where were the hierarchy or the spiritual rabbis and sorcerers? They were in ancient Babylon. They were in Iraq, learning ancient witchcraft practices in 1948 before they flooded Israel with Europeans. Do your research. They've cast a spell on the world. They have cast a spell. Why? Through manipulation, education, through programming, they were able to hide and reflect and deflect the blame. This is what they did. Some people don't even know that Christopher Columbus wasn't from Spain. You relate the fall of black people or slavery, most of us relate that to Christian Europeans that came over to the New World. That couldn't be further from the truth. Christopher Columbus was only in Spain 5 years. Christopher Columbus was Jewish. George Washington, Jewish. Benjamin Franklin, Jewish. So this one world order that we're talking about, none of the founding fathers were Christians. They were all esoteric, demon worshiping Jewish sorcerers. But through Hollywood, now Hollywood is an interesting word because that's the wood the Druids used in Europe to make magic wands and cast spells on people. So through Hollywood, they made you believe what they wanted you to believe while they control the earth through sorcery and witchcraft. Alright? So, I need y'all to bear with me. Hold your comments so I can go into this. How did they get their power? What is the origin of the spirits that they are in league with right now? Let's go into it. We have to go into the beginning. Go to Genesis 6 and 1. Read.
Genesis chapter 6 verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth.
When men began to multiply on the face of the earth, read.
And daughters were born unto them.
These are people having daughters. Go ahead.
That the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose.
So they went and took them wives and did what?
And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years.
Go ahead.
There were giants in the earth in those days.
There were giants in the earth in those days. Giants is Nephilim. There was Nephilim. Where did the Nephilim come from? The Nephilim came from the mixture of the daughters of men with angels, who are called in this chapter the sons of God. Read.
And also after that.
And also after that. It happened after the flood. Read.
When the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.
Men of renown, giants, titans. They were like gods on earth. This is the origin of your gods. This is your Greek mythology. There's a movie out called Clash of the Titans. I can show you in the Bible that a judgment was given on their children, that they would fight and kill themselves off through a war. That's your Clash of the Titans. All these animals that you see in these movies were real. Before the flood, the Most High flooded the earth because of the splicing of animals. Because if he didn't stop these new hybrid beings, men would be consumed. People would be consumed. And these same sorcerers that are in the earth today are trying to use legislation and technology to do today like they did during the days of Noah. The mixture of people, DNA, making alternative animals. They're doing the same thing today to kill off the Most High's creation. How do we know that these sons of gods in Genesis 6 are angels? Let's read the book of Job 1 and start at the 6th verse.
Job chapter 1 verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Most High.
Go ahead.
And Satan came also among them.
And Satan came also among them. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou?
Where are you coming from? Go
then
ahead.
Satan answered the Most High and said, From going to and fro in the earth.
I was just in the earth to show you every sundown the angels report to the Most High. And at that time, Satan, the fallen angel Lucifer, who turned Satan, was able to go before the throne and report to the Most High. So the sons of God are angels. Okay? That's in the spiritual plane. We're the sons of God on the terrestrial plane. The sons of God you read of in Genesis 6 are the what they would call extraterrestrial, coming down to deal with the terrestrial. Okay? Now, let's go to 1 Peter 2 and 4. 2 Peter 2 and 4. Read it.
2 Peter chapter 2 verse 4. For if the Most High spared not the angels that sinned.
If the Most High spared not the angels that sinned, what was their sin? Their sin was coming down to the earth, posing as some of these women's husbands too. It'll tell you that in the book of Jubilees. And sleeping with women and bearing children. Read.
For if the Most High spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell.
But cast them down to hell. We know that they are in hell. The angels that did this are bound. Go ahead.
And delivered them into chains of darkness.
And he delivered them into chains of darkness. Go ahead.
To be reserved unto judgment.
To be reserved unto judgment. So the angels that did this are the fathers of demons. And I'm going to prove that. They are the fathers of demons. Go to the book of Jude, the 1st chapter and the 6th verse.
Jude, chapter 1, verse 6.
Read it.
And the angels, which kept not their first estate.
The angels which kept not their first estate. Their first estate was the heavens. That's where they lived. Estate is habitation. Read.
But left their own habitation.
Go ahead.
He have reserved in everlasting chains.
Now they're in everlasting chains until judgment. Read.
Under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
Until the judgment of the great day. Until after the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Then they'll be judged. That's why it tell you in the book of Corinthians, know ye not that ye shall judge angels? What angels? At the very end, the elect will judge the fallen angels that are still fallen unto this day. Like Enoch judged the fallen angels before the flood. Read 13.
Verse 13.
Go ahead.
Raging waves of the sea, foaming out of their own shame, wandering stars.
They are what?
Wandering stars.
They were wandering stars. So these angels were stars. And that's why you have in your worships, in your Greek mythology, you have your involuntarily worshiping of planets and angels. It's worshiping of the stars. These are wandering stars. Read.
To whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever.
Whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. You notice when someone become rich and famous in our society, they are called stars. So some people might ask, well, what do being a good singer or a good act like Denzel Washington or being a popular person, what did it have to do with you being a star? A lot of people don't know that rabbis over synagogues are gatekeepers. What they do, they get riches and power by presenting souls. So when you go through, when you go into the music business or into entertainment, who's over them? Jewish powers. So if you got a certain talent, they'll take you to a rabbi, you sell your soul, and you get a star that's over you that can help you win in this society. That can help you get anything you need while you're in the earth. But it requires sacrifice in your soul. The rabbis get paid for this. They are gatekeepers. That's what your Jewish rabbis are. They look for the talent. They make an agreement with the talent, and then they bring people behind closed doors. That's your illuminist agreement you have with your LeBron James and all your different stars. Everyone have a Jewish connection. Every last one. And who do the Jews reverence? Their sorcerer. Who is their sorcerer? Their rabbi. Where did the rabbi get their research and their teachings? Ancient Babylon. But I don't want to go too far off track. But I want you to see the significance of how everything ties in. It all ties into the involuntary worshiping of demons. And demons cannot work without an established people pushing their program. And it all links together. Idolatry, sorcery, witchcraft, the destruction of God's people. Finish reading.
Verse 14. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these.
And Enoch spoke of these. Go ahead.
Saying, Behold, the Most High cometh with 10,000s of his saints.
Say that again.
Behold, the Most High cometh with 10,000s of his saints.
The Most High come with 10,000 of his saints. Now notice that it says Enoch prophesied of these things to show you that Jude was reading Enoch. So why is it that we cannot read this passage Jude is quoting in the Bible? Why? Because if you find the information, you will actually expose the spirits that the Catholic Church is worshiping. So they don't want you to know that this happened, because you would be able to identify them as Satan worshipers, idolaters. So they could not give you the information of Enoch. Why? Because they worship in the fallen angels. So they taught in their theologian schools, no, there was no fallen angels. This in Genesis, those are the sons of Cain, or the sons of Seth, sleeping with the daughters of Cain. Lie. They are hiding the gods they are worshiping. Why? Because if they fear that if this information get out, the people will stop worshiping their gods. Your worship give their gods power. Your worships and prayers to their gods, even in ignorance, fuel this empire. So when we bring our prayers back to the Father, their empire dwindles, it falls. Read.
Verse 15.
Read it again.
Verse 14. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these.
So what did Enoch prophesy?
Saying, Behold, the Most High cometh with 10,000s of his saints.
The Most High cometh with 10,000 of his saints. Read.
To execute judgment upon all.
To execute judgment upon all. Go ahead.
And to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds, which they have ungodly committed, and all their hard speeches, which ungodly sinners have spoken against him.
Now I need you to read that same passage in the book of Enoch. Give them the chapter and verse in Enoch. It's in the beginning. I got it. We just had it. Hold on. One moment. Let me get it here. Right here. Right here. I'm in the book of Enoch, the first chapter, and I need you to start right here. 1 and 9. Read it.
Enoch, chapter 1, verse 9.
Read it.
And behold, he cometh with 10,000 of his holy ones.
He cometh with 10,000 of his holy ones, 10,000 of his saints, the same as we see in the book of Jude. Read.
To execute judgment upon all.
To execute judgment upon all. This is what Jude was reading. Go ahead.
And to destroy all the ungodly, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness.
Go ahead.
Which they have ungodly committed, and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him.
That's the same we see in the book of Jude. All right, so this is what Jude was reading from. Okay? With the book of Enoch, you understand the course of years. You understand future judgment. Enoch was showed everything. And he was used to judge the angels that came down to sleep with women. And at this time, he was king and priest. He was so righteous, the Most High took him. He was translated into the heavens. But yet, there's no reading material on him in the Bible. Why? The Catholic Church want to hide the gods they are worshiping. Let's go to the book of Enoch, the 6th chapter.
Enoch, chapter 6, verse 1.
Start at the first verse. Read it.
Enoch, chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters.
Read it again.
And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters.
It was born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. Read.
And the angels, the children of the heaven.
And the angels, the children of the heaven, to show you they're the Most High sons also. Read.
Saw and lusted after them.
They looked down and lusted after the women. See, and that's why it tells us in the book of Corinthians, the 11th chapter, that a woman should keep her head covered because of the angel. Why? Because the angels were enticed before the flood and sin came into the earth. Same exact thing. We're in the book of Enoch 6 and 1. Read.
And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men.
Let us choose us wives from among the children of men. Read.
And beget us children.
And let's make children. Read.
And Simjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear you will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecation.
So these angels made an oath. Read.
Not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing.
Go ahead.
Then swear all they together, and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it.
So they agreed. Go ahead.
And they were in all 200, who descended in those days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon.
So you had 200 angels come down on the summit of Mount Hermon, whom in Greek mythology it's called Mount Olympus. You notice in your movies, Paramount, you have stars coming down through the sky, down around a mountain on your Hollywood screens, to show you the angels or the stars that are being worshipped through Hollywood. These are the stars that the Jewish powers are worshiping, or the gods they're worshiping. Now, they bear Nephilim. It's going to show you. Read.
Who ascended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon.
Go ahead.
And they called it Mount Hermon.
And they call it Mount Hermon. Go ahead.
Because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it.
Go ahead.
And these are the names of their leaders.
I don't even want to go into their leaders. Let's go into the children they had. Let's go down to when the Most High called Enoch up to the throne after he was translated. Now this is how it was. Enoch at one point used to come out every day and teach. And then he started coming out once a week. Then once a month. After that, once a year. Then he was then once every 5 years. Then they barely seen him. And then he was gone altogether. He was translated before the Father. Alright? Let's get the judgment of the fallen angels. Let's start at 12 and 1. Behold, these things Enoch was hidden.
Enoch, chapter 12, verse 1. Before these things Enoch was hidden, And no one of the children of men knew where he was hidden.
So they looked up and they didn't know where he was. Talking about Enoch. It tell you in the Bible that Enoch was translated. He was taken. He didn't die. The Most High took him into the heavens for this specific purpose. Read.
And no one of the children of men knew where he was hidden, and where he abode, and what had become of him. And his activities had to do with the watchers.
And his activities had to do with the watchers. Who are your watchers? Your watchers are the angels that were supposed to watch men and report back to the Most High. And you notice they have satellites, the same number of satellites around the earth today, which are called digital angels. These fallen angels, their children, have given technology to man to actually put watchers back out in space through electronics to do the same courses they did around the earth before they fell. Digital angels are satellites. Read.
And his activities had to do with the watchers.
And his activity had to do with the watchers. Go ahead.
And his days were with the holy ones.
And his days were with the holy ones. He was up where the Father is with the heavenly realm, with the angels. Go ahead.
And I, Enoch, was blessing the Most High of Majesty, and the King of the ages. And lo, the watchers called me, Enoch the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, go declare to the watchers of the heaven who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place.
So he said, I need you to go and declare to these angels. Read.
And have defiled themselves with women.
Now mind you, when Enoch went to speak to them, they have already defiled the earth. The blood of men was crying out to the Most High. The angels heard it. So the Most High said, listen, go get Enoch. Enoch was translated, and now the Most High is telling Enoch what he's to do based on this sin in the earth that will eventually destroy mankind. Read.
And have done as the children of earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives.
They took unto themselves wives. Go ahead.
Ye have wrought great destruction on the earth, and ye shall have no peace, nor forgiveness of sin. And inasmuch as they delight themselves in their children, the murder of their beloved ones shall they see. And over the destruction of their children shall they lament, and shall make supplication unto eternity. But mercy and peace ye shall not attain. And Enoch went out and said, Azazel, thou shalt have no peace.
He told Azazel, thou shalt have no peace. Read.
A severe sentence has gone forth against thee to put thee in bonds, and thou shalt not have toleration, nor request granted to thee, because of the unrighteousness which thou hast taught.
Go ahead.
And because of all the works of godlessness and unrighteousness and sin which thou hast shown to men.
Go ahead.
Then I went and spoke to them all together, and they were all afraid, and fear and trembling seized them. And they besought me to draw up a petition for them, that they might find forgiveness.
So they wanted Enoch to go plead the cause for them before the Most High, asking the Most High to forgive them and allow them entrance back into the heavenly realm. Read.
And they besought me to draw up a petition for them, that they might find forgiveness, and to read their petition in the presence of the Lord of heaven.
Go ahead.
And from thenceforward they could not speak with him, nor lift up their eyes to the heaven for shame of their sins, for they had been condemned. Then I wrote out their petition in prayer in regard to their spirits and their deeds individually.
I need you to go straight to the judgment before the Most High. Right here. where he tells them what will happen to them.
This chapter, preliminary final place of punishment.
Yeah, that's it. But let's go straight down where it says what will happen to their children.
I think that was what you believe.
No, it tell you here. Where it tell you that it tells you what he would do with his children.
Yeah, we just read that in chapter 12.
And they're going to become evil spirits on earth. Let me get it.
Oh, yeah.
That's it right there. Right here. Enoch 15. I need you to go down to, let's start at the first verse, 15 and 1. Read it.
Enoch, chapter 15, verse 1. And he answered and said to me, and I heard his voice, Fear not, Enoch, thou righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Approach hither and hear my voice.
So the Most High, Ahiah, told him to go before the throne and hear his voice. Read.
And go say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent thee to intercede for them.
Go ahead.
Ye should intercede for men, and not men for you.
He said, you should intercede for men, not men for you. So angels are sending petitions to the Most High. When the Most High sent the angels to speak for him to mankind. I'm in Enoch 15. Read.
Wherefore have ye left the high, holy, and eternal heaven?
Go ahead.
And lain with women.
And you lain with women. Go ahead.
And defiled yourselves with the daughters of men.
And you defiled yourselves with the daughters of men. Go ahead.
And taken to yourselves wives.
And you taken to yourselves wives. Go ahead.
And done like the children of earth.
And you're operating like the children of earth. Read.
And begotten giants as your sons.
And that's why you have these inordinate skulls that are found in different burial grounds. These Nephilim had inordinate sized bodies. They had long arms, long legs, big heads. But they try to write that off through science, saying that these were Neanderthals, or, you know, this happened 100 billion years ago, to hide their worships. Read.
And though ye were holy, spiritual, living the eternal life, ye have defiled yourselves with the blood of women.
Go ahead.
And have begotten children with the blood of flesh. And as the children of men have lusted after flesh and blood, as those also who die and perish.
Go ahead.
Therefore have I given them wives also, that they might impregnate them, and beget children by them, and thus nothing might be wanting to them on earth. But you were formerly spiritual, living the eternal life.
Go ahead.
And immortal for all generations of the world.
Go ahead.
And therefore I have not appointed wives for you.
Go ahead.
For as for the spiritual ones of the heaven, in heaven is their dwelling. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth.
They shall be called what?
Shall be called evil spirits upon the earth.
They shall be called evil spirits upon the earth. So the children of the giants became the demons. That's your origin of demons in the earth. The Nephilim, once they died before the flood, there was no place in the heavenly realm or the bottom of the earth for them, so they had to dwell within the earth. Let's see some of the attributes of these spirits. Read.
Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies.
Go ahead.
Because they were born from men.
Because they were born from men. Go ahead.
And from the holy watchers.
And from the holy watchers.
Is their beginning and primal origin.
That's their origin. That's where they began. Read.
And heaven shall be their dwelling. They shall be spirits on the earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. As for the spirits of heaven, and heaven shall be their dwelling.
Go ahead.
But as for the spirits of the earth, which were born upon the earth, on earth shall be their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants afflict.
They afflict So here's the spirit of these demons. Afflict, go ahead.
oppress,
They oppress people. What else they do?
destroy,
They destroy people. What else they do?
attack.
They attack. So when all these things are happening, there's a spirit involved. And see, and Christ told us in Matthew the 5th chapter how to combat this. You cannot react when something is being done to you. Because if you react to them, that opens the door for them to come into you. So Christ says, okay, turn the other cheek. Don't do this. When someone is agitating you, you can't react to their flesh because it's a spirit. The spirit will gain entrance and jump in. All right? They attack, they do battle. What else they do?
Do battle and work destruction on the earth.
And they work destruction on the earth. Go ahead.
And cause trouble.
And they cause trouble. Go ahead.
They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst.
They take no food, but nonetheless hunger and thirst. So that's the power of fasting. When you fast and deprive yourself of food and water, the spirits cannot utilize your body. So they find someone else they can utilize. And notice they have promoted a system that make most people gluttonous, so that these spirits can inhabit and live within you because they hunger. They will try to satisfy their insatiable appetite through you. Read it again.
They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst.
They take no food, nonetheless they hunger and thirst. Read.
And cause offenses.
And they cause offenses. Go ahead.
And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men.
And they shall rise up against the children of men. Why?
And against the women, because they have proceeded from them.
Go ahead.
From the days of the slaughter and destruction and death of the giants, from the souls whose flesh the spirits having gone forth, shall destroy without incurring judgment. Thus shall they destroy until the day of consummation.
They shall destroy until the days of consummation. The days of consummation is when Christ judged them for the last time. But until then, they are at war with us. So our conflicts and what we do allow them entrance. A matter of fact, you have to understand, they have no power over us. The only power they have is the power we give them. So the Jewish powers that make these horror flicks about them and these scary movies and these horror flicks make you fear these spirits so that they can have power over you. But really, if you have Yeshua, they have no power over you. Let's get Matthew, the 8th chapter. Matthew 8.
Matthew chapter 8 verse 29. And behold, they cried out saying, what have we to do with thee?
Start at the 28th verse.
Verse 28. And when he was come to the other side, in the country of the Gergesenes, there met him two possessed with devils.
There met him two possessed with devils. It was two men that had these spirits in them. Now, mind you, these spirits are from old time. And these spirits have wisdom and knowledge through time that can actually benefit mankind in wickedness. So that's the reason people deal with familiar spirits, because they want knowledge, they want understanding, they want information from the ancient. These are spirits that people are dealing with, and the Most High told us in the law that we're not to deal with familiar spirits. But why would government, why would powers, why people would like to deal with these spirits? Because they have information. They were from the beginning. They have experience. So these are the powers, these spirits and demons are the powers that our government officials and all those deal with. But this is a man that was possessed, and I want to show you something on this. Read.
There met him two possessed with devils.
Go ahead.
Coming out of the tombs.
Coming out of the tombs.
Exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by that way.
Go ahead.
And behold, they cried out, saying, What have we to do with thee, Yeshua, thou Son of the Most High?
So they cried out because they recognized Christ. They thought that Christ was going to deal with them right there, because through Christ's power, through his name, he could have cast them into the abyss where their fathers are. Read.
Art thou come hither to torment us before the time?
Are you come to torment us before thy time? So even the spirits know they have a certain amount of time to do what they're doing on the earth. So they are actually fearful of Yeshua. They're fearful of those who are in Christ. Now you have two separate situations here. You have a situation in which one under Christ have the power to cast out spirits. And then you have those, like your government officials and your powers, who can do certain things with spirits by making agreements with them. The problem is, through the Christian church, you don't know which is which. You don't know whether or not someone have power to cast out spirits like Christ did, or these are they that have agreement with demons, and demons leave for a time because of the agreement they have with the sorcerer or the person they made the agreement with. Here's an example of that. Give me this the chapter and verse in Acts real quick. And Brother Lawyer looked into this, and it was about the word exorcism. Christ didn't deal with exorcism. Exorcism is something the Catholic Church put into their agreement to deal with spirits. So they're not really casting out spirits. What they're doing is agreeing for a purpose to let the demon out for a moment. In an agreement. That's what an exorcism is. They agree with spirits. They don't cast them out. Okay? And I'm going to prove that. Let's get the book of Acts. Read it.
Acts chapter 19 verse 13.
Read it.
Then certain of the vagabond Jews.
The vagabond Jews. Now these were reject Israelites. Israelites that was doing what they wanted to do. They wasn't following Christ. Read.
Exorcists took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits the name of the Lord Yeshua, saying, We adjure you by Yeshua whom Paul preacheth. We
adjure you. Now when you look at that word adjure, let me get that. You're in the book of Acts.
19, 13.
Acts 19 verse 13. When you look at that word adjure, first let me give you the word exorcist. Exorcist means one to bind by an oath. That's an agreement. That's not you actually casting something out. So this is your illuminate powers in your governments have agreement with demons, and you think they have power, but it's actual in agreement to play a trick on the populace to make you think that they are under Christ. It says exorcist is an oath or a spell. That is an exorcism. So they use magic to so-called cast out spirits in your churches. They agree with spirits. It says here, took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits the name of the Most High. The name of Yeshua, saying, we adjure. That word adjure means to put an oath, to make or swear, or to solemnly enjoin. Christ wasn't agreeing with no spirits. Paul wasn't agreeing with spirits. The exorcism is an agreement so that the spirit can leave, so that the people can be tricked into believing that their preacher or pastor have power. But behind closed doors, they are doing rituals. Finish reading. We're going to prove that.
We adjure you by Yeshua whom Paul preacheth.
Go ahead.
Verse 14. And there were 7 sons of Sceva, of one Sceva, a Jew, and the chief of the priests, which did so.
Go ahead.
And the evil spirit answered and said, Yeshua I know.
The evil spirit said, hold up, I know Christ. I know Yeshua. Read.
And Paul I know.
I know Paul.
But who are ye?
But who are you? Read.
Verse 16. And the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them. And the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them.
So the evil spirit came out of the man they was actually doing their agreement with and jumped in them. Why? You cannot make agreement with these spirits. They'll stick around. Christ had the power to bind them or to cast them wherever he would like. You understand? He didn't make an agreement with them. Go back to Matthew. So an exorcism is an actual agreement. Like, here's an example. Just say the Pope have an agreement with Satan, because we know he do. Because he's dealing with the high spirit, all the other spirits that are under Satan, he can agree to actually have that spirit move out of a person, to play a trick on the world. That's the strong delusion. That's one of the strong delusions. When really it was an agreement to deceive the people so that the people can look at the miracles and stay within the church, or what they perceive as a miracle. But really, it's an illusion. Smoke and mirrors. All right? Go back to the place you left off at in Matthew.
Matthew chapter 8 verse 29.
Read.
And behold, they cried out saying, What have we to do with thee, Yeshua, thou Son of the Most High?
What have we to do with thee, Yeshua, Son of the Most High? Go ahead.
Art thou come hither to torment us before the time?
Have you come to torment us before thy time? Read.
And there was a good way off from them, and herd of many swine feeding. So the devils besought him, saying, If thou cast us out, suffer us to go away into the herd of swine.
So he said, listen, if you cast us out, cause us to go into the herd of swine, proving that spirits can actually go into other living beings. What happened after that? Read.
And he said unto them.
Now, why did the spirits want to be cast into the swine? Let's see. Read.
And he said unto them, Go. And when they were come out, they went into the herd of swine. And behold, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a steep place into the sea, and perished in the waters. So
the pigs died in the water. So what did the demons want? What did the spirits want? Why did they want the pigs? So that they can kill the pigs and get loose and go back and find other bodies. So it proved that they can actually go into animals for a time. But their preference, like it says in Enoch, is to deal with people, to cause things to happen within people. So he said, well, okay. He knew that Christ wasn't going to cast them into another person. Christ was going to banish them into hell. So they said, listen, cast us into the swine so that they can get loose again. They killed the swine, and now they're loose to go around and to continue their attacks against mankind. This is what goes on. Spirits can also use animals for a time. Now, going back to idolatry and how this all links in. Nimrod, and it's in the 2 Babylons, had an agreement with Satan. He found technology. He said, listen, in order for us to do this, we have to put in a system to control the people. So Nimrod got the idea of the building of cities from Satan. Because that way you can count the people, you can program the people. You can give them traditions. You can actually concentrate on controlling a society. You can't control a society if they are spread out and are not influenced by one idea. So Satan gave him the understanding in ancient Babylon that in order to control the people, you must first make cities. Now, let's get in the Apocrypha where it tell you the nations have rulers. I'm going to bring this all the way around. You notice that in every city or in every empire, they build statues, they build monuments, or they have some type of esoteric symbol. Like you have the Pentagon that's in the shape of a pentagram. You have the obelisks of Egypt in Washington, D.C. You have the everything. I mean, everything is pagan in its symbolism. Why? Because Nimrod taught people. Nimrod was taught by Satan how to control the spirits in different regions of the earth. You have to use symbols to bind them for an oath or have an implication in agreement with spirits. So now you have preachers, Muslims, all these high-powered people in the earth, stars per se. You have these high people in the earth who become Masons. Why? They can now step in and utilize these spirits in the earth who are now captured or controlled by government powers. So you got the spirits that are running loose and the spirits that are in league or have an oath with government powers in this earth. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers, the workers of evil in high places. So they needed to build constructs that can control spirits. Symbols are vortexes for demons. This is what's used for communication with spirits, or so that spirits can go in through windows and come in and out throughout the earth and travel. They work through symbolism. Like the example I gave the other day is, you would know if someone want to invite you someplace or agree with you based on their reaction to you or your demeanor towards them. So if you're frowning and you're upset or whatever, some people might want to back up off you. But if you're welcoming and you're happy, and you extend yourself, your demeanor welcomes you to this person and vice versa. Spirits work different. Spirits know that Christ is in a lot of people, and in some people it's less than it was before, I would assume. But you have people in this earth that have the power to move these spirits right out of the way and banish them in the name of Yeshua, and they know this. So you must welcome them in based on your symbolism. So they promote symbolism in your society: the 5-pointed star, the 6-pointed star, the crescent in the moon. All these are extensions to spirit saying, I agree with you. You can come in. You can dwell with me. These are all agreements in symbolism. And this is esoteric back to Babylon. They found out that they can do certain rituals to make agreement with spirits. And that's why people hold on to their idols. It's the same relationship. I'm going to bring this all around. But I'm going to show you that all nations in different parts of the earth have a ruler over them, or a spirit over each empire. Read it.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 17 verse 17.
Read.
For in the division of the nations.
In the division of nations. That means all nationalities. Read.
Of the whole earth.
Of the whole earth. Read.
He set a ruler over every people.
He set a ruler over every people. So there's a God over every nation. There's a God over every nation. But what?
But Israel is the Most High's portion.
But Israel is the Most High's portion. He didn't set God or an angel over Israel. He himself became the God of Israel. That's why the nation worshiped gods. Read.
Whom being his firstborn, he nourisheth with discipline, and giving him light of his love, doth not forsake him.
So that ruler over all nations is a God, a G-O-D. Every nation worshiped that God. Through esoteric worships in ancient Babylon, they learned that if we can take over the gods, we can control other countries. And that's been your spiritual warfare in the earth. It's one God against the other God. And whoever get power, control that region. That is your Roman power grab of the earth. That's your one world order. Who can build the greatest Masonic construct to control the earth, like the Jewish people over in Israel today? This was their plan. This is the New World Order plan under Satan, to get all the spirits in league with them, who are the synagogue of Satan, and control the earth and attack and destroy the children of Israel. But the children of Israel have something more powerful than their gods: their prayer. These nations had to make a conquest, a constructed conquest that was aimed towards God's people, so that God's people could pray and empower their nation and their gods. So when our prayers leave them and we come back to our Father, now we empower our God to crush their gods. That's the understanding of the spiritual warfare in the earth. That's what Christ gave his believers. He gave us our God back. But their gods are connected to what? Get Psalms. It's a full lesson. There's other things I want to go into. I can't hit it all, but I want to show you something. Psalms 90, 96, and 4, 96, 4, and 5, right? Mm-hmm. Read it.
Psalms chapter 96, verse 4.
Read.
For the Most High is great, and greatly to be praised.
For the Most High is great, greatly to be praised. Read.
He is to be feared above all gods.
He is to be feared above all gods. He was telling his people. Read.
For all the gods of the nations are idols.
For all the gods of the nations are what?
Are idols.
Are idols. So there's an idol attached to every nation. There's a ruler attached to every nation. And that's idolatry. The Lord gave us a law and said we cannot operate like this. Now the reason the angels or the fallen or the spirits want you to worship, because by doing this you empower the gods or their fallen fathers that are bound in hell. The Roman Empire worshiped the underworld. They worshiped the gods of the underworld. Those are the angels who were bound in the book of Enoch. So if you're dealing with masonry, esoteric work, witchcraft, Christianity, all of it's all the same. Even when they do those chants, what they call talking in tongues. Now, there's no Baptist churches in India, but yet they're doing the same satanic chants in their rituals. These are all chants of connection of demons and spirits to these particular gods. Now, there's more. Read that again.
Psalms chapter 96, verse 4. For the Most High is great, and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods.
He is to be feared above all gods. Now gods are being worshipped in this earth. The nations are worshiping gods. Read.
Verse 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols.
They are what?
Are idols.
They are idols. There's an idol connected to every nation. And the children of Israel are not supposed to deal with these idols. Read.
But the Most High made the heavens.
But the Most High made the heavens. Now there's something else. In order, like I mentioned earlier, in order for them to take down the earth, they must first take down the power or the God being dealt with in any particular area. And you notice when they go there, the nations are dealing with symbols, So why would people need symbols or a shape of something? A lot of these spirits go into these particular idols and deal with people. They need substance. They need something of the earth that was created to abode. Okay? Now, our foreparents in old time understood this. That's the reason if they went into a house or a place where someone else used to live, they would throw out all the things that was in the house before they came and start over with their things. Why? Because you don't know if someone prayed a spirit or a god or a demon in certain things. So these idols are connected with spirits living and actually abiding in these different stones, in these statues. That's the reason people hold these things dear to themselves. It could be in their trinkets, it could be in their earrings, it could be in, I mean it's nothing. It's nothing but an idol. But there's demons connected to it, and these demons give power in this earth. It's what you would call good luck charms. What they call a charm. Okay? So what I'm talking about is real. This is what happens within the earth. So the Most High is calling us to separate ourselves from idols. Pictures that's idolized, statues. And I'm going to tell you, our people, I'm talking about black people right now, are some of the biggest idolaters on earth. Mm-hmm. We'll go into a shop and think we're getting some Afrocentric artifact. You have this big black ugly mask with hair right off, and you'll put it on your wall and don't know that a voodoo preacher probably prayed a spirit over it. Or you'll get a statue of a jackal, of a jackal from Egypt, or some type of artifact that you think is art. The Roman Empire are hiding their idolatry through art. It's straight idolatry, and 9 times out of 10, you're bringing a demon or spirit in your house. This is how they do it. And your masons, your powers, they are in agreement with these spirits. They are in full agreement with them. And another example we gave the other week. How did the children of Israel get their golden calf? They received their golden calf by the jewelry on their person. They broke off their earrings and all their jewelry and made the idol. Why? That's what it was before they made it. It was their idol. The Most High says we're not supposed to covet any substance. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't wear what they want to wear. I'm just showing you that we cannot look into things more than what they are. They're nothing. They're only what we give to it by making it precious and idolizing it and turning those things into a god. There's some other scriptures on idolatry I wanted to go into, but I just wanted to hit that because that's one of the commandments written of in the Bible. That thou shalt have no other God before thee. And idolatry is looked down upon all through the Bible. Our people have become great idolaters in the northern kingdom. Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. You have the North American Indians who make totem poles talking about their ancestors linking back to fallen angels. You have the Indian tribes, all of them are Catholic. The Spanish or Latino tribes are dealing with all types of witchcraft. We need to leave those Catholic churches altogether. Put down those beads, put down those crosses, put down every part of idolatry that we've learned in our satanic slavery system and come back to the Most High God. All right. With that, we're going to conclude this until tomorrow. And I'll open it up for questions. But I wanted to show you the connection between the Illuminist powers. One other thing I wanted to bring out. Dan. All of Dan, and I'm going to bring this out once this book is finished and all that. We're going to bring this out for you. And we're going to teach it in our classes, some of the private classes. All of Dan did not go into Israel. All right, after the fall of Egypt. That's the reason when you look at Dan, who was not too far from Mount Seir, Dan had a smaller portion of Israel or Canaan than any other tribe. They were the smallest. Not because they were the smallest in number, all of them did not go into Israel. There was a faction, a large faction of them that went out. It tell you in Jasher that certain times Dan wasn't mentioned in the Exodus. Why? Because a lot of them got on boats and went over into Greece. And they became the Spartans. So when you look at 300 in Sparta, those were Dan. We're going to bring this all out. And Dan never those Danites never received the commandments that was given to Moses. Therefore, they took the witchcraft practices of Egypt over to Greece to hand them one day to who? Philip of Macedonia, Alexander the Greek, to continue the witchcraft from Egypt to Greece to Rome. So Dan was behind taking Egyptology worships and those gods over to Europe. That's going to be in a teaching coming soon. All right. Let me stop that. One moment before we answer questions. When I talk about idols, you notice in the Catholic Church they have all these different symbols. They have a statue of Mary, or what they call Mary, which we know is nothing different than Diana, and the worship of Venus, and the child, which is a representation of Jupiter, or the Yule child of Tammuz of ancient Babylon. But with every worship and prayer comes some physical substance like an idol. You notice even in your Catholic Church they have what you would call rosary beads, something like that, right? They call it rosary beads. Mm-hmm. In it, you know, it's a compilations of different stones, usually linked into a cross. Why do people reverence substance and have a worship linked to physical things like wood and stone and metal? We found out, according to the scriptures and according to this world, why. I'm going to give you all some understanding. I don't want to let the full cat out of the bag, because a lot of the information we'll be teaching in the academy. So I don't. Terah was an idolater. All right. So I'm going to show you, according to scripture, why people hold dear to substance. See, it tells us in the commandments, Exodus 20, that thou shalt not have no other God before the Most High, and he explicitly told his people not to make unto them anything that's in the heaven above or the earth beneath. There was a reason for that. What was the spiritual implication of that? Why did the Most High want Israel to stay away from those practices? We'll show you. Why is it that when it comes to substance, be it your ring or your earrings or your jewelry? Why do you call it precious? Why do you hold dear to these things as if they have life and value material more than life itself? What is your spiritual connection to these things? I'm going to say this. Who is over? Who is over your jewelry? What people is actually bringing jewelry to you? Why do they promote jewelry? Why this time of year, especially during the time of Christmas? Everything you see is about adoring jewelry. Jewelry itself, Jewry, links directly to the Jewish wizards. Back in old time, there was people who knew how to trap spirits in material. They would trap a genie, or what you would call in the Middle East a jinn. But they needed physical substance to do it. So you need something. You need earthy clay. You need something that's made of the Most High substance to hold these spirits with different incantations. This practice has been known through the Illuminati powers. That's why they deal with their symbolisms and they build their statues. This practice goes back to ancient Babylon, how to control spirits. And these Jewish powers are not just cutting diamonds. What they're doing, they're praying spirits in a lot of these materials and selling them to you. And you're making... I just read something that's and before it's news, not too long before I came into the class, that speaks of how Iran is in league with Venezuela, according to prophecy that's right in, where it says in Isaiah 13 that the Medes are going to be behind the total downfall of Babylon. But they are in league with Venezuela. Venezuela have an agreement that Iran will be able to set up a base there for missiles, actually. So that's Bible prophecy. And that's big in prophecy, to let you know that Iran is gearing up. And again, we told people, that's the sleeping giant. Iran will be the game changer. All right, Iran will be the he will be the game changer. All right. Now, going into the lesson, because y'all missed this lesson and I thought we should share in it a little bit. What is the importance of this world's connection with idols? Now, I want to bring it all out because we want to make sure we ration it out and give you the information as we can receive it. But in a nutshell, it's pretty deep, the reason they have these idols attached to every religion. In Islam, you have the rock or the Kaaba. In the Middle East, you have all types of different idols. In ancient Babylon, you had idols. The Roman Catholic Church is filled with idols. You go into your church and there's symbolism and idols every place. And there was an origin of idols. So let's go to the book of Enoch. We're going into the book of Enoch. And then I'll take you into the Bible and the Apocrypha to show you why the nations deal with idols. What significance and why people cannot physically let their superstition and their idols go. And don't forget, Abraham himself, his father